Hey everyone, I want to talk about how taking action, the simplicity of taking action over and over and over again. And one of my favorite quotes, crushing procrastination with immediate action, has been one of the best things I've ever applied to my life. Why it's simplistic but not easy. Many things in life are simplistic but aren't easy. The tools of existence of what's necessary to reach goals, including OCD and anxiety recovery, to change belief systems, regardless of how hard you're stuck, whether it's POCD, moral, sensory motor, existential. These principles outdate anyone who's alive by thousands and thousands of years, and we're always trying to look for these new ways to undermine the principles that just work, right? Consistency, doing things we don't feel like doing it. And I want to talk about why the actionable steps help get me to where I am today, which is obviously, it's hard to even look back to where I was in 2019, the mental hospital, especially how much I've changed in my thinking patterns and my calmness overall. Was always very hyper or very down. I remember I was on the call with someone a long time ago, 3 years ago, and they said something to me that I've remembered now for 3 years. And they said, you seem like someone that's either really high or really low. And I could have easily been like, wow, that, fuck you. And so I was like, maybe I could work on that so I'm a little bit more even keel without trying to stop any sort of emotions from ever happening. So before I go any further, please subscribe, hit that like button down below, look for that new direct message link with Phil. We can get you in right away. It's a great feature. People love it. Daisy's at the door. Come in here, boo-boo. This is what happens. I make a video. She won't bother me for 17 hours. I'll turn the camera on and she's like, where are you? So, and this is going to be a very important video that you can apply. Now, I can't make you apply any of these tools. I can tell you what worked for me, what I think works for all OCD and anxiety sufferers, what works for human beings, whether they have OCD or not, and then we'll go from there. So I think the most important perspective that I've had is what you think are core personality traits are more than likely nothing but belief systems that have been formulated over decades and decades of subconscious movement patterns and thinking patterns, societal beliefs, cultural dogmas, etc., that made people believe that, like, that's my personality. So let's take someone who can be a very loud individual who's very fun and entertaining to watch, like Dana White, right? Owner of the UFC. You might look at him and say, Dana is a loud, abrasive human being. That's who he is. That's not who he is. When he was 2, I would probably put my life on it. He wasn't like that. Or maybe 5. As he developed learning and thinking patterns from other people, whether it was his family, I'm just using an example. I don't know, Dana, if you ever found this, I don't know your life. I'm just using what more than likely is happening, whether you thought about this or not. People will be like, for me, same thing, to jump to me. Nick he's just an angrier guy. That's like who he is. No, I was raised in a household where yelling was as I like to joke, my love language. So I realized that there is really no personality trait that's more than likely stuck or set in stone. There are ones that are probably more difficult to change, but it's not as simple as this person's an extrovert, this person's an introvert. I've become much more introverted over the last year or so. Even in the first 2 to 3 years of my recovery journey, I was still quite extroverted. Now I'm much more introverted as a perspective. There's no such thing as being an introvert. There's no such thing as being an extrovert. You cannot classify 8 billion people into 2 categories. Just like you can't classify 8 billion people into 4 love languages. They don't exist. There are no such thing as love languages. There's no such thing as an introvert or an extrovert. It's just a belief system and a preference. I prefer to be alone because I work a lot and I enjoy my downtime. You don't go, that's an introvert. That's very, very superficial levels of thinking that I and everyone operate off, so I can't hold that against anyone. OCD and anxiety sufferers have been forced into very deep thinking in order to recover from our disorder. That's why so many things have changed in my life for the better. Some things probably for the worse. It's not all pros because I'm not so outlandishly crazy anymore, which can come out at times, but not as a consistency. Maybe I've lost certain friends because they might say, oh, Nick is boring. I don't want to be around Nick anymore. But that's just the way that life goes, right? Where it's an ever-changing human. That's why there's no such thing as the self. A little bit off topic there, but that's such an important key. So, let's look at the things that matter the most behaviorally when it comes to OCD and anxiety recovery. Okay? So, and it's good to do this so you can kind of see how I formulate all of the material and the coaching calls and the emails that we do. And you don't need to have emails or messages. I just enjoy doing it, but it doesn't matter if you ever got this. So behavioral, right? So I know it sounds repetitive, the books. Okay? Take for an example this call. I just had 4 one-to-ones. I have a couple after this, and I have a couple things I have to do, and I'm going out to dinner with a friend tonight. And I wanted to make this video because it's on my list of things to do today, which I have about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, which one of them I just didn't even realize. So I just crossed out like that. I just did that. So 7 things I haven't crossed off yet. If something doesn't get crossed off here, I bring it to the next day. I enjoy doing that. So the books, you're going to have to make time. You know, I understand how hard it is to suffer with OCD, but you're going to have to cut the excuses and make a very serious effort to read the books on the reading list to understand the principles of unconditional self-life, other acceptance. Another one is work. I rarely meet people, unless you're in retirement age, I rarely meet people with strong unconditional life acceptance who are not going to work. They might be out there, but I haven't worked with them yet. And I don't think Rob, Moman, or Sam has either. Another one is just like simple stuff. Like I say, your teeth and flossing. These are basic things, and they might seem simplistic, but do you have any idea how many people don't floss their teeth? I did not floss my teeth. Let's look that up, actually. It's actually something. Let's do it for this video because it will just show you, right? How many people floss? They say 50% floss on a daily basis. This one says at least half. So it just goes to show you 1 and 2. So if you go to a sporting event with 50,000 people, 25% of people there, 25,000 people there don't floss. What about brushing your teeth? How many people brush twice a day? This will be a cool one. 70%. Okay, that means 30% don't brush their teeth twice a day. I was in the percent that wasn't even brushing their fucking teeth because my suffering was so bad, my low frustration tolerance. So the reason why I wanted to go over that in the beginning is because everything that I needed to do in order to change my life did not need anything but repetitive action and wearing discomfort. You can achieve much more than you think you can. As Ray Dalio says, you can want to achieve it. I can't remember his exact terminology. You can have everything you want, but you can't have everything you want, or something like that. There's a word there. It's not 2 halves. You can have everything you want, but you can't get everything you want, or something like that. And there's a lot of truth in that because humans seriously undermine their ability to act against the things that hold them back. So like some of the things I'm trying to work on this year is to balance my caffeine a little bit more because my pre-workout tends to have a lot of caffeine and I tend to drink multiple cups of coffee, which doesn't bother me. It doesn't give me any anxiety. But I want to see if I can just have 1 cup after my pre-workout, which is still like 325 milligrams a day, which isn't crazy to think about. So that's one thing. My goals that I set that I have to go over today or tomorrow when I review my weekly goals that I write down. And you don't have to track your goals. It's just something I decided to do. That's one behavioral action I had to work on. Another behavioral action I really wanted to work on, because this is a behavioral action, was learning to keep my mouth shut when I was listening to things I didn't agree with. Always the big 3, money, politics, religion. Everyone has views on that. Our views aren't nearly as important as the way we convey those views to other people, in my opinion. So when we sit down with someone, we have a conversation with them. If the other person is like, F you, you scumbag, blah, blah, blah. I know because I live my life like that for the majority of my life. Once I learned to slow that down and I realized that I didn't need to communicate like that, things got really uncomfortable. So I had to learn to really wear those uncomfortable emotions as I went throughout my life and started to change a lot of those, the way I viewed those conversations. But it had a lot of keeping my mouth shut. But, you know, we're always looking for something new or something sleek or something that is going to undermine the principles that we know that work. But when you look at the principles in time, in my opinion, right? These are probably the only things that truly matter over a multi-year, multi-decade, half-century horizon. Consistency, patience, humility, and in humility, admitting when you're wrong. If you don't admit when you're wrong, it's hard to redirect. And not admitting when you're wrong where you think you have to because people are trying to guilt you. By the way, no one can guilt you. There's no such thing as someone guilting you. No one can guilt you. They can add to a belief system, but you guilt yourself. Once you realize that you make yourself depressed, yes, there's activating events. You primarily make yourself depressed, angry, anxious, sad, rageful. Once you do that, you can take much more control of your emotional destiny, if you want to call it, but it's not like in that regard. It takes a lot of work to change your beliefs. So consistency, patience, humility, okay? The other one, the great quote, the only thing constant in this world is change. Consistency, patience, humility, change, and risk. These are like 5 of the things that can change your life in all ways. So those right there. Consistency when things get boring. Learning how to be patient when you don't have an answer for something and you can't see through with it. Humility to understand that you've been doing something incorrectly that's problematic for you or your family or people around you. Change, becoming comfortable with change, which goes directly into taking risk. Life is all about calculated risk and going into pros and cons. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. That was kind of a way I live my life. I keep some of the Ray Dalio principles on my desk, which I like to look at. Treat everyone the same, compassion for all. I try, no matter who I'm talking to, regardless of their situation, to apply compassion. Must do versus like to do. That's a Ray Dalio one as well. And then nothing needs immediate attention, which can help me control a lot of my urges in my life. Since I am someone who's probably with an OCD sufferer and ADHD, which I don't identify by that, just the reality. I have probably a higher propensity to be compulsive and have addictive stuff. So I hope you guys enjoy. Please look for that link down below. Let me know. I got a whole list of stuff here that I'm always writing down. Topics to do, TikToks to do. When I'm on calls, like some of the TikToks coming up are going to be, confusion, feels too real, killing my vibe, and why breaking that down can be important. I'm afraid of my family being hurt, magical thinking, being complacent. Cultures with marriage. I don't understand. People say that a lot. I don't understand. It's actually compulsion. So, and we'll go from there. Hope to hear from you soon. Remember, webinars at 8:30 p.m. UK times. Enjoy the rest of your day, everyone.